Hello there, welcome to Genessis-Models. My name is Bobby Waldron and this is the 23rd of October 2015 Genesis-Models show. Now this week I've been working on our Spitfire and Hurricane here, which hopefully you can see we have our Hurricane here. This one has gone together rather well. I've just done a bit of sanding around it and there's no real issues with the way this has gone together at all really. There, as I did show that because we've got all this lovely sort of rippled effect kind of detail here, which is like the wooden framework showing through the fabric of the Hurricane here, that we needed to sort of do some stuff to sort of be able to still sand a nice seamless finish, but to also keep that detail in there, because it is rather sort of advanced and rather hard to actually put that kind of detail back into a model like this. So we look into that on the Hurricane side of things. Moving along with our Spitfire, we've finished all the cockpit and everything, did a bit of pigments in there, and then the whole kind of the construction side of it was it seemed to be going together okay, and yeah, it did seem to kind of have a bit of a fit issue. As you can see, I've got all sorts of clamps on this and everything. I think it might be down to the way I glued it together to film it, because I didn't follow the instructions because of the way I was going to be filming it. It was better for me to glue it in a certain way for the filming purposes. And I don't know if that's kind of giving me a fit issue with how the actual cockpit's seated in here, but there was a bit of a problem sort of getting the wing section, the wing section onto the fuselage all nice and flush and fitting nicely. So I do go into a bit of detail on sort of sanding stuff down, cutting bits out, and sort of getting it to glue nicely, which we just about got there in the end. So that episode is up there for you to watch today. Also, what I've had in the post, because I did say that for the F-15 I was going to get in some can paints, some Model Master paints, because I'm after that sort of grey blue tinge camo pattern on top of our F-15. But then at the same time, Vallejo's Air War series came back in stock, because if you remember, I was after trying to get these, but they were just not in stock anywhere. They've finally come in stock, so I've gone off and ordered these, and these Vallejo paints actually have that blue in there, that grey sort of blue tinge I've been after in here as well. So I've got like about 3 different types of colours I can test out there, but I thought, why not? They've just arrived today, let's give these a nice little product review. Hello there, welcome to Genessis-Models. My name is Bobby Waldron, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at Vallejo's new Air War range. Now, they've released these 2 nice new boxes, as you can see here, which basically what they do is they fill in the gaps for the US Navy, US Marine Corps colours from the 70s to present. This one here covers US Air Force colours, grey schemes from the 70s to present. Now, boxes look really cool, box art looks really good. On the back, even more interestingly, we do get quite a nice bit of detail and a lot of information on a whole bunch of aircrafts, their colour schemes, their actual FS numbers and matching colours for all different aircrafts. So what Vallejo have done here is they've gone off and they've really put a lot of research into the actual federal standards colours to give you as close a matching colour to the actual aircrafts as possible, which is absolutely fantastic. Because when it comes to paint ranges, I mean, we could go on about all different manufacturers, but Vallejo does seem to be quite a popular manufacturer for the fact that you know, they are so easy to use. They literally, you can take these paints, pour them in your airbrush, and you're good to go. Maybe a little bit of thinners, you know, all kind of depends. Now remember, this is the model air range, which is the black tops. You have got the model colors, which are like the white tops, but this is kind of like the range you want, where you can just pour in your airbrush and basically spray and go. Now with these two particular sets here, you know, as I say, they filled in a nice couple of gaps for certain colors and give us some good matches, because I know with a lot of like the US modern aircraft stuff, the best matching paints really were the Mr. Hobby range, which they can be a little bit hard to find. I know Models are Go, they've got them kind of readily available now. Me personally, they're not my favorite brand, but you know, each their own. I do like to use Vallejo, and you know, it is nice to see now that we've got some nice matching colors in the Vallejo range, so it gives us more options, and you know, because we're doing the actual F-15 step-by-step video build right now, there are some nice colors, matching colors for the F-15 as well in here, so I might be actually using these next week for our F-15 when we do some spraying there. Now let's just kind of, you know, talk through what we get. Now I want to kind of just quickly sort of give this a review. Now we've got two sets here, and what we get is, I've just got to kind of remember which one goes wrong. That's that set, right. We've got our US Navy and US Marine Corps colors set here. Now with this one we get, well, each set you get 8 lots of paints. Now with this one you do get, which they almost seem to be sort of bulking this out a bit, you do get a surface primer, which is already readily available, so there's nothing really new about that. You do get 2 other colors here as well, which are 71097 and 71120, and now this is dark ghost grey. Now these 2 colors are already available, which I have just here. Now these 2 that I'm taking here are from my set that you see behind me. Exactly the same numbers, but they've changed the name. They've changed 97 medium gunship grey, used to be grey primer, and the 120 US Air Force medium grey, they've seemed to change the name to dark ghost grey. Why they've done that, they're probably trying to sort of get their actual range sort of matching up with proper federal standards to basically make things look more accurate, which is fine by me. But then in this set as well, we've also got 2 more colors that is already available, not really anything new about it, which is 121, which they call light gull grey, from my set just behind me, 121 US Air Force light grey. So there's Vallejo's new air war range there. Really cracking paints. We'll be looking into them in more detail, well, depending on who sort of wins really. Is it going to be testers, is it going to be a can, or is it going to be Vallejo for the F-15 step-by-step video build, which will be next week. Now as I said last week, I ran out of time to do part 3 of the Necrons, but I've managed to get part 3 done this week, so let's check out painting our Necrons. So moving along with part 3 of our Necrons, what I've basically quickly done just off camera is, you know, coming along with some black and painting our gun flat black. There's no kind of, you know, tricks involved here, it's just painted that nice and flat. Then we have Citadel's dry compounds, which here we have Necron compound. The name suits our Necrons here. Now with these dry compounds, they're really dry. As you can see, they're like kind of chunks of it. If we get a bit out on our paintbrush, just to sort of show you, and the whole idea of this is supposed to be to make dry brushing a lot easier, right? In the sense that you know, we're not using a wet paint, a really wet paint, so it's kind of, you know, getting the paintbrush sort of to a nice dry consistency. It just helps you get there sort of a little bit quicker and better, and supposed to be easier. So for, you know, you, I don't know, newcomers to the hobby, this is probably a good one to kind of work on here. Hopefully you've seen, you know, we can sort of just get this out, rub it into the bristles, and then we should be all good to go dry brushing pretty quick and easy. So bringing you in on our little gun here, we just want to lightly start to brush at this, right? Actually, that's probably maybe not as dry as I want it to be. And what we're going to do, we're just going to highlight this, bring out all the details by dry brushing it, and I'm just brushing it lightly, right? Because at first it might be a bit too much if you sort of you know, maybe come in at this a bit too harsh if we brush at it. Right, so just lightly brushing at it, and as you feel, you know, the dry brush is sort of not putting on any more of our necron compound, you can then start to sort of press a little bit harder, and it just kind of gets more of that necron compound out. Right, and it's nice and easy, and because our necron here is already silver, we don't have to worry too much about sort of getting it everywhere. Now we also have this little sort of blade on the front here. I want to make this a little bit more, say, shinier than, say, the rest, you know, of his sort of body, right, just to give a little bit of a difference here. So I'm just sort of really kind of shining this up in a sense, right, his blade, just to give it a little bit of difference. We may as well, while we've got this out, and that makes our blade just look a little bit sort of different to the rest of the body. So that's a nice bit of quick dry brushing. Coming in with some mist and red, really cool colour here, which we're going to do his eyes and everything. Right, now a little tip as well, we're on a miniature, haven't quite finished yet. As you can see, we can sort of get a nice bit of paint on the side of our paintbrush, right, and we can do some side painting. Right, so let's just make sure we haven't got too much. I know I'm using my nail as a bit of a palette, but you don't want too much on the brush. And what we can do, we can just side paint this bit of detail, right? This is nice raised detail. I could do a bit more paint than that. Right, so it makes this part really easy to just use the side of your brush to paint that in, right, rather than using the tip of your brush to try and do it. Another little thing we're going to do here is eyes. Now I know a few people find it a bit hard to do the eyes, and a good one for this is a cocktail stick. Maybe we could sort of use a blade just to sort of really kind of maybe sharpen this up to an even better point, or whatever you're comfortable with. Right, and we can dip this into our red paint here, right, like so, and then we should be able to a lot easier get this to paint his eyes a lot easier than using a brush. To come back in. A steadier hand is helpful, but I do like using a cocktail stick Right, coming in just to do his second eye now. The only thing is with the cocktail stick is, you know, it doesn't hold the paint that well. But if we're ever using the cocktail stick, we are normally coming along and doing something minute like doing his eyes. Now the next thing I want to show you is having a quick, nice, easy feathered sort of look. So I'm just getting out a palette, and I'm going to be using some Winsor and Newton's oil colours. Now you don't have to go out and use Winsor and Newton. There's all sorts of manufacturers out there that do oil colours. Basically we're just after a simple red oil colour here. Right, so let's open the lid and we can just get a little blob of this. I mean, we don't want to get loads of this out because we really don't need a lot of it at all. Make sure my brush is clean. Wipe it on a kitchen paper towel. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to apply our red paint around his eyes, our oil paint just here. Right, now we don't have to be at all careful with doing this. Right, it's just a kind of just splatter it on, just brush it on, you know, no real kind of technique going on there, just slap it on, no big deal, not too much of it. Right, just clean my brush again, and then what I'm going to come in with is this is Mid-Production's odorless turpentine. It's a good turpentine for kind of feathering out any of your oil colours. Yes, you can go off and use white spirits and all those kind of things, but really it's, you know, it's the quality really. I know you're paying more for this kind of stuff, but as I say, it is down to quality. So I'm just getting out my paintbrush now, and I'm just gonna clean my paintbrush, make sure it is clean. Right, and then we're gonna come back in on our little Necron here, and I'm just gonna start to now stub down and feather in this red oil that we've done here. Right, and as you can see, what was kind of put on in a very sort of slap it on, not really kind of trying at all sort of way, it has, you know, disappeared into like a very sort of feathered way. I mean, actually looking at that, I could probably get a bit more of our oil colour here, because that kind of did sort of dilute very quickly and feather a bit too much for my liking. Right, so I'm just getting only a bit on my paintbrush this time. Right, and as I say, we can now just stub this down until we get sort of like a feathered look that makes this look like his eyes are glowing, is what I'm after. Right. Okay, now I'm going to clean my brush off because it has got you know, sort of quite a bit of this red oil on here. So I'm just cleaning off my paintbrush, right? Because as you can see, that is still probably a bit too intense. Right, but if we don't clean off our paintbrush, we're just going to be moving around this red oil. Right, and the more you stub this down, clean your brush off, get some more on your brush and stub it down, the more it's going to disappear. Right, so really it's a case of how far do you want to sort of take this. Do you want to keep, do you want to have it a lot, a little? It really is totally up to you. I think I'm going to knock this back a little bit more. I only want it to sort of show up a little bit really, and hopefully that'll be good. Yeah, I think that's just given us a nice sort of glowing red sort of hue around his eyes, you know, to represent a nice bit of glowing. And then what you want to do, you want to leave that to dry. It does take longer for oils to dry, and because we're talking oils here, let it dry at least 24 hours and probably seal that in maybe with a matte coat, yeah, probably seal that in with a matte coat, and then we'll move on with doing his base, which his base I have already basically sort of primed this up with Maroon Fang Brown by Citadel, just to get our base colour ready for kind of doing all the little cool things that we're going to do to get these bases looking like a swampy sort of look. So there's the Necrons part 3. Hopefully next week in part 4 we'll be finishing it off by getting those bases finished, which is to say I want to go for a swampy effect, because you get to mess around with all sorts of cool slime and glosses and making water effects and all sorts to really sort of jazz them bases up. And hopefully what you've seen by watching these Necrons being painted is some really easy techniques how to just very quickly, you know, start getting those miniatures painted up, looking effective but ready to play on the tabletop. Now next week, as I say, will be part 4, but with the ending of the Necrons, it's sort of like, would you like to see anything else in these little shows? A bit like the Necrons, where I'll go off and I'll sort of build a little something and show you how to build a little something, whatever it might be. You know, I've got those absolutely gorgeous resin aliens from the board game. I have done a little bit of painting on them, and they are so easy to paint, but they look so gorgeous because the resin detail on there is absolutely smashing. Maybe you might want to watch me paint them. There's also 1/72 scale. I mean, 1/72 scale, you could go off and build like all sorts of little World War II sort of fighters, something 1/72 scale. It's quick, it's easy. Maybe you might want to suggest I build a certain 1/72 kit, you know, really quick, like I've done in the these weekly shows. And maybe you might want me to focus on something or whatever. You know, throw me some ideas that of what you might want to see. If not, I'll just pick something I fancy doing. Now sadly we've come to the end of the show, but hopefully you've enjoyed it. Next week it's F15 week, so I'll be diving right into spraying, because I do believe we got the main colour down, so we're probably going to be jumping into bleaching, maybe post shading, doing that camo pattern, and potentially sealing it in already for decaling. So hopefully you're going to look forward to that, because we do cover a lot of spraying in that F15. So yes, sadly we've come to the end of the show, but hopefully you've enjoyed. So until next time, my name is Bobby Waldron, this is Genessis-Models, and I hope you've enjoyed.